Welcome back to the channel Valuable Coins HD. Treasure hunters, coin collectors and history lovers, to another exciting journey through the fascinating world of rare and valuable coins. Today we are exploring a coin that most Americans have seen countless times in their everyday lives, but few truly appreciate its hidden worth and story. We're talking about the United States of America Washington quarter dollar from 1985, a coin that might look ordinary at first glance, but, as you'll soon discover, it hides secrets that could make it worth far more than its face value. So grab your magnifying glass, hold on to your seats and stay with me until the very end, because this 1985 quarter might just surprise you with how much it can be worth in the world of collectors. Now let's step back in time to understand what made this particular year so special. The year 1985 was a fascinating period in American history. Ronald Reagan was serving his second term as president. The economy was booming and every day life was buzzing with optimism. The music was loud, the fashion was bold, and the change jingling in people's pockets carried the nation's spirit of progress. Among those coins was the Washington quarter, a symbol of American pride, strength, and endurance. The Washington quarter had already become an icon by 1985. Since its first introduction in 1932, it was created to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, the father of the nation himself. The coin replaced the standing Liberty quarter and quickly became one of the most beloved designs in U.S. history. The portrait of George Washington on the front of the coin was sculpted by John Flanagan, whose artistry captured the commanding yet noble presence of America's first president. Let's take a close look at the design that millions of Americans have handled but rarely studied. The obverse side of the 1985 quarter displays George Washington facing left, his hair tied neatly in a colonial-style ribbon, a symbol of dignity and leadership. Above his head shines the word Liberty, a powerful reminder of the freedom that defines the nation. To the left of his neck is the motto, "In God We Trust," and below his profile the date 1985 proudly marks its minting year. Every detail of this design, from Washington's stern gaze to the crisp lettering, reflects the craftsmanship and precision of the United States Mint. In the reverse side we see the majestic image of an eagle, with its wings spread wide, clutching a bundle of arrows in its talons. The arrows symbolize strength and defense, while the olive branches beneath represent peace. Above the eagle the words United States of America curve proudly, and just below them the Latin phrase E pluribus unum, meaning out of many one, serves as a constant reminder of unity. At the bottom of the coin the denomination quarter dollar is engraved in bold letters, completing the elegant design that has been admired for decades now. Even though the 1985 Washington quarter looks common, there's more to it than meets the eye. These coins were minted in two locations, Philadelphia and Denver. The Philadelphia quarters carry no mint mark, while those struck in Denver feature a small D right beside Washington's ponytail. The difference in mint mark can influence a coin's rarity, especially when it comes to uncirculated or proof quality pieces. Speaking of rarity, let's talk about what makes certain 1985 quarters so valuable. While billions of these coins were produced for general circulation, only a small number have survived in pristine condition. Most were spent, used and scratched over the years, so finding a coin that still glows with its original mint luster is becoming harder and harder to do. Collectors always chase after the best preserved examples, those that remain crisp and flawless as if they just left the mint. But condition isn't the only factor that makes the 1985 Washington quarter worth big money. Errors and varieties are where the real treasures hide. Minting mistakes are highly prized in the world of coin collecting, and 1985 produced its fair share of them. Some of the most famous include off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing or shifted dramatically, giving the coin a strikingly unique appearance. Then there are double die errors, where the lettering or date appears double due to a misalignment during the minting process. These are some of the most exciting finds because each error tells its own story and no two are exactly the same. There are also examples of quarters struck on the wrong planchet, meaning the coin was accidentally made using a metal blank intended for another denomination. These types of errors are extremely rare, but they do exist for the 1985 quarter and can skyrocket its value into the thousands. Another rare occurrence is when the reeded edge, the tiny grooves along the coin's rim, is missing or partially struck, giving the coin an unusual and valuable variation. Collectors pay close attention to every minute detail, from the shine of the metal to the depth of the lettering, because any small imperfection can mean a significant difference in value. Let's also discuss composition. The 1985 Washington quarter was made primarily of a copper-nickel clad composition, featuring an inner core of pure copper and outer layers of nickel, giving it that silvery appearance. It's lightweight yet durable and was designed to withstand decades of circulation. The copper core can sometimes cause the coin to take on a reddish tone along the edges, which makes It visually distinctive and appealing to collectors. When it comes to grading, the Washington quarter experts use the Sheldon scale ranging from poor to mint state 70, where MS 70 represents a perfect coin without a single flaw. A typical 1985 quarter found in circulation might only be worth its face value, but one that grades high, especially MS 67 or MS 68, can command impressive prices at auction. The reason is simple: rarity and perfection combined make collectors compete fiercely for the best. Examples available. Another category worth mentioning is proof coins, which were struck specifically for collectors in limited numbers at the San Francisco Mint. Proof coins have mirror-like fields and frosted designs, giving them an incredible visual contrast that regular coins simply don't have. If you happen to find a 1985 proof quarter in immaculate condition, it can be far more valuable than a standard circulation coin. Beyond its physical characteristics, the 1985 Washington quarter holds immense historical charm. It's a coin that connects generations. Millions of Americans used it during the 80s, dropping it into payphones, vending machines, and arcade games without realizing that someday these little pieces of metal would be part of numismatic history. Today, collectors cherish them not only for their potential value but also for the nostalgia they carry. They're tiny time capsules from an era of cassette tapes, VHS movies, and big dreams. Now, if you've got a jar of old coins sitting around at home, it's time to dig through it carefully. You might just find a 1985 Washington quarter that stands out. Maybe it's brighter, crisper, or slightly different in design than the rest. Take a closer look with a magnifying glass. Check for errors, doubling, unusual textures, or missing details, because these are the features that turn an ordinary 25-cent coin into something truly special. Collectors and coin enthusiasts all over the world are on the lookout for these gems, and the market for high quality Washington quarters continues to grow, especially for those from the 1980s, which are becoming harder to find in untouched condition. So, after learning all this, you're probably wondering just how much one of these coins could be worth. Well, here comes the exciting part. If you happen to own a 1985 Washington quarter in perfect uncirculated condition, or one with a rare minting error, you could be holding a coin worth an astonishing $12,000. Yes, that's right, $12,000. For a single 1985 quarter. Imagine finding that kind of treasure in your change drawer or old coin roll. It's proof that even the coins we take for granted can hold incredible secrets of value and history. Today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating stories in American coin history, a coin that looks so ordinary that millions of people pass it by every single day without realizing the treasure that might be hiding right in plain sight. We are talking about the United States of America Washington quarter dollar from the year 1965, a coin that marked a massive turning point in the history of American currency, a coin that carries mystery, rarity, and sometimes even unbelievable value. If you have one of these quarters lying around, you may want to hold on tight, because by the end of this video you might just look at it with completely new eyes. Let's rewind time and step into the year 1965, a year of change and transformation across the United States. The country was in the middle of social revolution. The space race was heating up, and the U.S. Mint was facing a massive silver shortage. Yes, that's right, silver, the very metal that gave American coins their shine and beauty for decades, was suddenly too expensive to use. This crisis would lead to one of the biggest changes in modern coinage history, and the 1965 Washington quarter stood right at the heart of it. Before 1965, every Washington quarter was made of 90% silver and 10% copper. These silver quarters were heavy, shiny, and beloved by collectors and the public alike. But as silver prices began to soar, people started hoarding coins, melting them down for their metal value. The U.S. Mint realized that continuing to use silver would cause chaos and shortages, so they made a groundbreaking decision to remove silver from circulating coins and replace it with a brand new copper-nickel clad composition. That is what makes the 1965 Washington quarter so historically important. It was the very first year of the new non-silver quarter, a coin that symbolized the end of one era and the beginning of another. Now let's take a close look at the design. The obverse side of the quarter still proudly features the iconic portrait of George Washington sculpted by John Flanagan. This design has been a pillar of American coinage since 1932. Washington faces left, his expression calm yet determined, embodying leadership and strength. Above his head, the word Liberty arches boldly across the top, and the famous national motto, "In God We Trust," sits just to the left of his neck. At the bottom, the date 1965 reminds us of The year that changed everything for the American quarter. On the reverse side we see the classic heraldic eagle standing proudly with wings spread wide, clutching a bundle of arrows symbolizing defense and strength, while beneath it rest olive branches representing peace. Above the eagle are the words United States of America, while the Latin motto E pluribus unum, meaning out of many one, reminds us of unity and national pride. At the bottom of the coin the denomination quarter dollar is clearly shown. Every line and curve of the design tells a story of national strength, artistic mastery and historical continuity. Even though the metal composition changed, the soul of the design remained the same. But here's where things start to get really interesting. The 1965 Washington quarter exists in two major forms. One is the common copper-nickel clad version that we see in circulation every day, but there are also rare, transitional error versions that were accidentally struck on silver planchets left over from 1964. These mistakes occurred during the shift from silver to clad coinage, when some leftover silver blanks were mistakenly fed into the presses. These silver quarters from 1965 are among the most sought-after coins in American numismatic history because they were never supposed to exist. So how can you tell if you have one of these rare silver-era quarters? First, check the coin's edge. If you see a distinct copper-colored line running along the rim, then it's the regular clad version. But if the edge is completely silver with no copper tone visible, that could be a major sign of a silver transitional error. Another way to check is by weight. The regular clad 1965 quarter weighs about 5.67 grams, while the silver version should weigh about 6.25 grams. That small difference might not seem like much, but for collectors it's the difference between an ordinary coin and a life-changing discovery. Let's not forget that condition plays a huge role too. A heavily circulated quarter will be worth little more than its face value, but a coin that's been preserved in mint condition, especially one that has a mirror-like surface and no scratches, can command an astonishing price at auction. The higher the grade, the more desirable the coin becomes. Collectors use the Sheldon grading scale from 1 to 70, where MS70 represents a perfect coin without a single flaw. If you ever find a 1965 quarter that's in uncirculated or proof-like condition, you're already sitting on a treasure. Speaking of proof-like coins, here's another fascinating detail. Even though the US Mint officially stopped producing proof coins in 1965 to prevent hoarding, there are a few extremely rare examples of proof strikes that somehow escaped into circulation. These proof or special mint set coins were made with higher quality dies and feature sharp details and a brilliant finish. Finding one of these is incredibly rare and can multiply a coin's value many times over. Now let's talk about other minting errors from this iconic year. Some 1965 quarters show double die obverse errors where the letters or date appear doubled, giving the coin a ghost-like appearance. Other quarters are known to have been struck slightly off-center, causing parts of the design to be missing or misaligned. There are even rare examples struck on dime planchets, which are smaller and thinner, making them instantly recognizable. These error coins are among the most collectible pieces in the world because no two are exactly alike. Each one is a unique piece of minting history. Beyond errors and silver transitional strikes, the 1965 quarter also holds emotional and historical value. It represents a pivotal change in American coinage policy, the birth of modern clad coins, and a reflection of economic realities that shaped the nation. It's a piece of metal that carries the echoes of a changing America from the civil rights era to the space age and beyond. Every scratch, every shine, every detail tells a story of that transformation. Now imagine holding one of these quarters in your hand. It feels ordinary, just another coin you might use to buy a snack or park your car. But what if that coin happened to be one of the ultra-rare silver transitional errors? What if you were unknowingly carrying a hidden fortune in your pocket? It's happened before. Lucky people have found these coins in pocket change, estate sales, or even tucked away in old coin jars without realizing their worth until years later. The thrill of discovery, the excitement of realizing you have a piece of history that's worth thousands, that's what makes coin collecting so special. So if you have a collection of old quarters at home, or maybe a jar full of coins saved over the years, now is the time to start checking each one carefully. Look for those tiny clues: the weight, the color, the shine, the edge. Every detail matters because you never know when you might uncover one of the rarest coins in circulation. And now the moment everyone's been waiting for: the action price. If you happen to have a 1965 Washington quarter struck on a silver planchet or a perfect mint state condition piece, you could be holding a coin worth an astonishing $85,000. Yes, you heard that right, $85,000 for a single quarter that once bought a gumball or paid for a phone call. So Before you spend that next 25-cent coin, take a moment to look closer, because that tiny piece of American history in your pocket might just be your ticket to an incredible discovery and a life-changing treasure. Keep hunting, keep collecting, and remember, every coin has a story, and sometimes that story is worth more than gold. Today we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating and underrated coins from American history, a coin that most people have spent without a second thought, but for collectors it could be hiding incredible secrets of value and history. We're talking about the United States of America Washington quarter dollar from the year 1973. This coin might look ordinary at first glance, but when you really start to explore its background, its design, its rare errors, and its collector demand, you'll realize that this small piece of metal carries a story far bigger than its 25-cent face value. So grab your coin jars, dust off your old change rolls, and get ready, because by the end of this video you might just find out that your 1973 Washington quarter could be worth far more than you ever imagined. Let's travel back to the early 1970s, an era of change, culture, and progress across the United States. The country was in the middle of transformation. The Vietnam War was winding down, new technology was emerging, and the American spirit was alive and vibrant. The United States Mint was producing billions of coins every year to keep up with an expanding economy, and among these were the Washington quarters that continued to carry the iconic image of the nation's founding father, George Washington. By 1973, the Washington quarter had already become one of the most recognized coins in circulation, a true symbol of American pride and legacy. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, and since then it has become one of the longest-running designs in U.S. coinage history. The designer John Flanagan crafted a masterpiece that remains timeless to this day. His sculpt of George Washington's profile was both noble and strong, a reflection of leadership, freedom, and the values the nation stands for. By 1973, this design had been circulating for more than 40 years, but the craftsmanship and symbolism still held the same power and respect. Now take a close look at the obverse of the 1973 quarter. It features George Washington facing left, his hair tied neatly in the classic colonial style. Above his head arches the word liberty, bold and proud. The motto "In God We Trust" sits to the left of his chin, and the date 1973 rests beneath his neck. Each letter and detail is precisely carved to embody the dignity of the first president of the United States. The simplicity of the design is what gives it its beauty. It's a piece of art struck into metal, a small but powerful reminder of America's founding ideals. Flip it over to the reverse side and you'll find one of the most majestic designs in American numismatic history. The heraldic eagle spreads its wings wide, grasping a bundle of arrows symbolizing strength, readiness, and defense. Beneath the eagle lie olive branches representing peace. It's the perfect balance between power and harmony. Above the eagle you'll see the proud inscription "United States of America," and just below that the Latin phrase "E pluribus unum," meaning out of many one, symbolizing unity among the states. At the bottom the denomination quarter dollar is engraved in bold letters, completing the design that has defined generations of American coinage. The 1973 Washington quarter was struck at 3 different mint locations: the Philadelphia Mint, which placed no mint mark on the coin; the Denver Mint, which used a small D mark near Washington's ponytail; and the San Francisco Mint, which produced proof coins with an S mint mark. These proof coins were made especially for collectors, using polished dies and special blanks to give them a mirror-like surface that shines brilliantly under light, while circulation coins from Philadelphia and Denver were made for everyday use. Proof coins were never intended to enter circulation, which makes any proof found in pocket change an extraordinary discovery. Now let's talk about composition. The 1973 Washington quarter was made of a copper-nickel clad structure featuring a pure copper core sandwiched between outer layers of nickel. This composition had replaced silver just a few years earlier, after 1964. Due to the rising cost of silver, this change meant that post-1964 quarters no longer contained any silver content. Yet despite being base metal coins, some of these quarters can still be worth thousands today, depending on their condition, rarity, and minting errors. Errors are where things start to get really exciting. The U.S. Mint produced billions of coins every year, and sometimes mistakes happened. Those mistakes created rare varieties that collectors dream of finding. One of the most desirable error types for the 1973 Washington quarter is the double die obverse, where parts of the lettering or numbers appear doubled, giving the coin a Striking and distinct appearance. There are also off-center strikes where the design is partially missing because the coin blank was not aligned correctly during minting. Another sought-after error is the die clash, which happens when two dies strike each other without a coin between them, leaving ghost-like impressions of the design on the coin itself. These types of mint errors can take an ordinary quarter and turn it into an extraordinary treasure. Another remarkable and extremely rare variety of the 1973 Washington quarter is when it struck on the wrong planchet. For instance, some quarters have been discovered struck on dime or nickel blanks, meaning the coin is smaller, thinner, or slightly lighter than usual. These minting mistakes are incredibly valuable because they are accidental and only a few escape the mint each year. When it comes to grading, collectors know that condition is everything. A circulated 1973 quarter may only be worth its face value, but an uncirculated coin, one that has never been used in transactions, can be worth significantly more. Coins are graded on the Sheldon scale from 1 to 70, where MS-70 represents a perfect mint state coin with zero imperfections. A 1973 Washington quarter graded above MS-66 or MS-67 can be highly sought after by collectors, especially if it exhibits brilliant luster, strong strike, and no visible marks. Proof coins from San Francisco also hold special value. Proof coins are known for their beautiful mirrored finish and sharp frosted designs, which make them stand out from circulation strikes. If you come across a 1973 proof quarter in perfect condition, still sealed in its original mint packaging or graded PR70, it can command a very strong price in today's collector market. Beyond the technical aspects, this coin represents an important moment in America's history. It reflects a time when coins were transitioning from their older silver heritage to modern compositions. It connects generations from the era of the Great Depression to the modern day. It's a coin that's been in millions of hands, seen countless pockets, and yet still holds a hidden story waiting to be discovered. Imagine for a moment that one of these coins is sitting right in your house, maybe tucked away in a drawer mixed with spare change, or sitting quietly in a collection box. It looks ordinary, dull, perhaps worn from time, but with the right characteristics, the right condition, or a rare error, that coin could transform from something common into something spectacular. Collectors around the world are always searching for the finest examples of the 1973 Washington quarter, and every year more people realize that what they once thought was pocket change might actually be a valuable piece of numismatic history. The beauty of coin collecting lies in discovery, the thrill of finding something rare, the connection to history, and the appreciation for the artistry that goes into each design. The 1973 Washington quarter captures all of that perfectly. It's a coin that reminds us that even in the smallest objects there can be incredible stories and incredible value hidden in plain sight. And now for the moment you've all been waiting for. If you are lucky enough to find a 1973 Washington quarter in flawless mint state condition, or one with a dramatic minting error, you could be holding a coin worth an astonishing $63,800. Yes, you heard that right, $63,800 for a single quarter that you might have spent without a thought. So before you drop your next coin into a vending machine or let it disappear into a jar, take a closer look at it, because history, art, and hidden fortune might just be sitting right there in the palm of your hand. Keep hunting, keep learning, and as always, stay curious, because the next great treasure could be hiding in your pocket right now.